Imagine getting up every day full of energy as if you were in your 20s again. What would that be like? What would it be worth to you? What is your health worth to you? Think about it. Your health isn't everything, but without it, everything else is nothing. And yet, too many of us are taking it for granted until something goes wrong. And no one wakes up hoping to be diagnosed with a disease or chronic illness. And yet, we've never been taught how to be proactive in our health through our school or public health. As a registered health coach and integrative health practitioner, I believe it's time this information is made available to everyone. Combining new knowledge around your health and the ability to do my functional medicine lab tests in the comfort of your own home will allow you to optimize your health for today and all your tomorrows. Don't wait for your wake-up call. Welcome back to another episode of the Don't Wait for Your Wake Up Call podcast. I am Melissa Deely, your host, and here with me today is Edith B. Kiss, all the way from Europe. It's 7 p.m. her time, 11 a.m. my time. It's wonderful what we can do with technology and how we can meet people from all around the world. Welcome to the show, Edith. I'm excited to have you here.
Hi, Melissa, and hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited too.
And so I just love to introduce you to the audience. Edith is a holistic therapist, success habit coach, #1 best-selling author, humanitarian award winner, and international speaker. She helps her clients to get healed from the running mind, insomnia, to gain focus and fill the void in their hearts by raising their frequency and getting them aligned with their true selves so they can stand the storms and live their lives joyfully and reinvent themselves to the next level. She works with clients in releasing long-lasting pain, blockages, ancestry defects, and emotional traumas so they live fulfilled and joyful lives. Interestingly, Edith originally was a petroleum engineer working in the petroleum industry for 15 years before becoming a life coach full-time. And during those years, she trained to become a Reiki master, a Sekhem healer, and a karma yogi. So I'm very excited to dive into this episode with you, Edith. And I would love to just start out at the beginning. You were a petroleum engineer. What was it that had you shift from that career into the career of holistic health and wellness that you're focused on now?
So I already started to dive into spirituality in my early 20s when I was at the university still studying for petroleum engineering. And due to the fact that I started to have panic attacks, and then I didn't know what's going on with me. I had no clue these are panic attacks at the first time. So I was scared. I didn't know what's happening. And then when they wanted to give me, like tranquilizers and stuff, I was like, I'm not going to do that. So I was looking for something natural, to deal with the issue. And then that's why I got into Reiki first. And then I really loved going also to extrasense retreats with my Reiki master and learning other modalities and doing some amazing like multidimensional work,
Yes.
And then this was my sanctuary. It was my hobby besides being an engineer for many years, for decades. It's like I had my children, I had a career, but this was something where I escaped myself alone, and I knew that I'm also healing the whole family. We were also doing lots of family constellation therapies and so on and so forth. So I knew it's helping me, it's helping the family. So I loved it. And what was actually the pivotal point? So why I was transforming or transferring myself is because I also learned the karma yoga healing. And the karma yoga healing was such a deep like transformation in me. Like it was the first time I believed that I really opened my third eye and activated my pineal gland. So even though I went through like 15 years of Reiki and family constellation therapy and all of those, it felt like something went even deeper with the karma yoga healing. And
Right.
I was able to receive more breadcrumbs from the universe. I was able to like see people from my past lives, connect with souls in the current life and knowing where do I know them, started to heal and release karma with them. And and also healing from traumatic experiences through like knowing that my physical illnesses has a root in trauma,
Yeah,
so because
absolutely.
many people, they say, oh, I had a great childhood, I don't remember any traumatic experience, and then you were like, okay, then why I'm having issues? But it's not,
Mm.
it doesn't need to be traumatic experience. It can be even an innocent memory which felt like negative emotions, creating negative
Yes,
emotions, and then that's
exactly.
becoming a trauma and then buried in the unconscious mind. And later it's creating physical disease. So
Yes.
when I had physical illnesses and I started to use the source memory healing from the karma yoga, basically they started to get resolved. Even like I had patterns like a pelvic infection, which came to me like several times a year, like I had pelvic infection and bladder infection. And then basically I always went to doctors. They don't always subscribe me antibiotics. And then it was like a pattern, and then
Right.
it was terrible, but if the doctor can't do anything with it, I thought this is how I should live my life with this thing,
Right.
and then eventually I did the source memory healing. And then how it happens, this healing, is that you get into the karma vortex and you rewrite your past in the akashic records and
Hmm.
you create a new future. But that requires sometimes certain people to come in your way and certain solution to come in your way, which is
Yes.
created by this karma vortex. So basically, when I was in pain and then ill, sick, and I did this healing, basically I met with a doctor who knew what to do at this point,
Right.
and cleared me out completely. So in the last 6, 7 years, I had no issue at all from the same thing, which was
Beautiful.
like very often. So, and it was like other things as well. So when I experienced these changes, when I experienced these really drastic solutions, I was like, wow, I need to show this to other people. I need to start healing them, and then I felt really calling also for meditating with people. Somehow it was like a calling which was even before the karma yoga healing, like a couple of months earlier. I already felt like, oh, I would love to meditate with people, help them to release anxiety or stress. And
Mm.
I was just caught to that. And these tools, these new meditations, the samadhi gave me also some more encouragement and more tools, for
Right.
that.
Right. Well, I love all of that. And I love your openness to that from a very young age. And how it was helping you, it was helping your family. And then you continued learning, you continued adding to your toolbox. And now that you know all of this, now you're helping others and you want to share it with the world. And so our paths are very, very similar, slightly different tools, however, still working with the power of our unconscious mind and
Yeah.
understanding how trauma is impacting our physical health and that our physical ailments are the result of unresolved negative emotion
Yes.
from that
Exactly.
from that trauma, and that the brain, our unconscious mind, is storing all of our memories, and it will repress those memories of unresolved negative emotion and trauma until such time that it feels it's safe for your body to even be able to cope with. And then it brings it forth for your conscious mind to deal with.
Mm.
Which is why police officers who experience a lot of trauma, or any first I can't remember. I'm not first offenders, first responders, any of them, or military folk, they're always dealing with trauma. And so they don't have the time in the moment to be even trying to process it. And so the unconscious mind just buries all of it so they can get through what they're trying to get through and stay alive and help whoever they're trying to help. And then it's later that we get the PTSD. And so that's exactly what you're saying here. And I love that you're coming on the show and sharing this so that my audience isn't hearing this just from me. This isn't woo woo. This is all a derivative from quantum physics and the power of what we have in our own mind, our unconscious mind, to be able to work with. And it may sound shocking because it's new, because most people haven't learned this. It's not taught in school. It's not taught through public health. And yet it is becoming more well known day by day as people like you and I continue to talk about it and share it with the world. And so I thank you for the work that you do and for your desire to share it with the world, because so many
Thank you.
people are suffering now. And
And funny that you said that it's a new thing. And although this is a 60,000 years old tool,
yes, yes,
it was like hidden from people, or the people were
Yes,
not ready to actually experience this.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And even like hypnotherapy has been around since the beginning of time. And over that time, people have pushed it down and, said that it's you controlling someone else's mind and they don't like it. And then it kind of comes up again as a powerful healing modality. And then it gets squashed because people will tend to squash what they don't understand because they're fearful of it. And now it's on the rise again as there's more science coming to support what we've known all along. We just didn't necessarily have the science and the language to be able to explain how and why it was so effective. So you're absolutely right. This has been around for as long as humans have been around and as long as we've had an unconscious mind.
Mhm.
We just haven't known it and known how to consciously choose to access it. So I love that. So you also mentioned another healing modality that I don't think you've mentioned yet. You've mentioned it to me called Sekhem healing, and that is something new
Yeah.
to me. I would love for you to also talk about that.
So it was channeled by Reiki healers, like back in the 70s, actually. So it's a pretty new one. That's why maybe probably people don't know about it that much.
Mm.
So back in the 70s in the United States, there was a Reiki healer who actually channeled Shakhem healing.
Right,
And they realized that how it differs from Reiki, so they realized it has to be something different. So they have to give a different name. They have to actually create a different modality from it because it's not like Reiki.
right,
So how it came alive. And then this is a healing technique when they actually connect with the Sirius sun, and they use the power of the Sirius sun for the healing as the source. And then when you do a second healing, how is different from Reiki? That when you invoke the light for the Reiki for healing, it's coming through your crown chakra, and then you project it through your hands. With
right.
Sekhem, and entering your crown chakra is going down to the earth, coming back from earth, and then after you heal. So you ground the energy as well. So that's why it's more
Ah,
powerful.
right.
And it has also more signs. So Reiki has only maximum 4 signs with the master sign, but in Sekhem there is like 15, 20. So there's many more signs for different things to do with the client. And what happened to me that when I was doing Reiki healings, it took me around 1 hour a session. But when I attuned to Sekhem and I started to do the Sekhem healings, it was half an hour was enough for the
Wow.
healing. So
Wow.
it was
Yeah.
a much shorter period of time for the same strengths of energies to come through.
Mhm. Because of the grounding, and because when you're grounding, you're also using the energy of Mother Earth.
Yes, and also because of the Sirius sun, because it's very powerful. Yeah, our spiritual sun. Yeah.
And can you explain that as well for the audience?
Yeah, so actually today on our recording day is
Yes.
the Lionsgate portal, the
Yes.
888 portal,
Yes.
and this peak of the Lionsgate. And the Lionsgate portal starts at the 28th of July until 12th of August. And is actually the time when the Sirius sun much closer to our solar system, our sun, and more aligned with it when the sun is in Leo. So this is a big alignment between Sirius and our solar system, and this is what also the ancient Egyptians used for their rituals and their power. When they were manifesting things or they were creating things. So it's highly connected with the ancient Egyptian healing techniques, and the second is actually also related to Sekhmet goddess, and Sekhmet goddess was a lioness, like
Yes.
they call it lioness, so a lion head lady, a goddess. And then there are several temples in Egypt where like many lioness or lion, statues are there,
Mhm.
because the Shechem healing had temples, and the people, when they got sick, they went to the Shechem temples for healing.
Yes.
So it was like really common, and even from Asia or other side of Africa, people went to Egypt to learn this Shechem healing back in the ancient times, and they used this healing, when they needed. So yeah, it's very powerful, and then it's coming from those years, those era. And then the Sirius sun was always their spiritual sun, and they always were like praying to it, and they used it for healing.
Beautiful. I love all of the wisdom that existed back in ancient times. And when you look back at, the Egyptian treatments, the Ayurvedic treatments, the ancient Chinese treatments, all natural, all holistic, powerful, powerful treatments. And unfortunately, in the Western world, for too long, so much of that has been pushed aside. It's,
Mm.
it's woo-woo, or it's old, or it's not really real medicine. There isn't science behind it, etc. And that's when Big Pharma kind of came up and developed. And we know that path now is all about money and their focus on shareholder profit and not really anything to do with human health. Our acute care system, medical system, is very, very good. And I love how people are starting to realize now to come back to some of these ancient modalities and look at just how powerful they are, and that we can still use them today, and that
Yes.
we can learn
Yeah.
from these ancient traditions.
Yeah, the thing is that they took away, like, they programmed the people to, so they feel like they are not responsible for their health anymore.
Yes. Yes.
They give the responsibility to doctors, nurses, whatever. So that's like a programming what is
It is.
running basically.
It is. And you're true. You're very correct. And I say that as well. We don't prioritize our health. We don't even think about our health until we don't have it. And then we go to the doctor expecting them to fix us.
Yeah,
And that's a lot of responsibility to put on another person, as opposed to taking responsibility for our health up front with the goal of, let me do everything I can so I don't get sick in the first place.
absolutely.
And I love the way that it was in ancient India and ancient China, where the doctors didn't get paid if their villagers got sick, because that meant the doctors were actually educating their villagers on how not to get sick.
Beautiful.
And I think that's an amazing system. So yeah, so thank you for all of that explanation as to what you do and how you help people. And I want to shift it a little bit and just talk about another aspect of your own story and how you helped yourself, and have you share your story about how you lost 40 pounds at age 42 and what you did in order to be able to achieve that. Because there's many people that want to lose weight and they struggle to do so. And so your tips and advice will be very beneficial to them.
Yes, so I was in the time when I was around 42, I was at the time like being a mom, having already two children. So my kilos were piling up as I started sitting jobs in the office, as I started to use the car for, everything. And then I also had the children like coming one after the other. So the kilos was piling up nicely. And then eventually I became like 73 kilos. And then my original weight was when I was 18, that was like the 53 kilos basically. So what happened is that I really didn't like myself. Sometimes people say, oh, you just need to love yourself as you are, even you are overweight or whatever. I couldn't like myself. I went to buy dresses. I looked into the mirror in the changing room and I was like, it's like terrible. And then I don't like it and nothing looks good on me. It's terrible. So I wasn't happy about my body, about even my health. I felt always tired, fatigues of the work. At the weekends, I had no energy to play with the kids. So I felt like a failure, in health. And even though I was already, at that time, I was already a Reiki 2 practitioner at that time. But that wasn't enough to change or transform my life, So
Right.
what I did actually, I was trying to get to a position where I can have more work-life balance. So actually I quit my job and then we tried to relocate to New Zealand because I heard there is work-life balance there. We applied for immigration, we did all the paperwork, everything what we needed to go through, but they didn't give us enough points because they did not calculate everything what we did, like qualifications. Anyway, we didn't reach the points to residency, so they said we need a job to get the papers. Anyway, we traveled there because I said I can't find a job from Hungary to New Zealand in a months or whatever they give us. So I said to them, gonna travel there. What's gonna
Yeah.
like the time frame? And they said, oh, they give us extra couple of months. So I left my job, which was a well-paying, like I was on top of my career, and then it was like even people were looking for those kind of jobs, which I left, you know. So it was like sounded insane that I'm leaving that position.
And was this when you were still in petroleum engineering?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and I left the job, and then we went to New Zealand, and it was like an amazing 7 months. The stress was only just, you know, finding a job, and we
Yes.
were spending all our money, which we
Right.
ever collected. And then during those time, I tried to lose weight. So what was I doing? I was going jogging. We lived by the ocean. It's like I looked out in the window and I've seen the beautiful view. You know, I was like, I gotta go jogging. Yeah. So I went jogging nearly every morning, and then I felt that the weight is a bit getting smaller, but I measured myself and it was just 2 kilos, you know, or like really little changes in many months. And I was like, I'm doing something wrong. Why is it not working? Why am I not losing weight? So eventually I said to myself, I don't care. I'm 42. I don't care if I'm staying like this shape or whatever. I am already married, whatever. I don't care. and then, and then in that, you know, when you manifest something and then you give up on it, you don't believe it's ever gonna happen to you. That's mean you let it go.
Yes.
That's when magic happens, right? So I was still visualizing myself in a tiny bikini, looking skinny, you know, every morning. That was my visual. And then one day, like I was doing some I was already a Reiki master because before we left to New Zealand, I asked my Reiki master to make me a Reiki master. So we were like, I was in the course before I left because I said, I don't know when I'm going to come back. So it's better if I do this here. So basically, I was healing other people and myself with the Reiki master signs. And then when you do a label on Reiki, then you need to heal yourself for a couple of months, you know? So I was in that 6 months, every day I used the master signs on me. And like after 6 months, what happened is one day I felt really weird. I felt like leaving my body. Like I felt like very unstable and a bit dizzy. And then I was a bit scared, you know, like what's going on with me? And then I even called up my Reiki master who was like on the other side of the world, you know, and then it was midnight for her. She would never pick up the phone, but that day she picked up, you know?
Right.
And I was like, what's going on? I feel this and that. And she was like, only ground yourself, you know, say this, say that, blah, blah, blah. And then I started to feel better and better. But what happened is I went to the kitchen and suddenly I started to feel that I can't eat certain food. Certain food was like kind of like non-existent for me anymore. Like, you know, when you look at a soap which smells like cake or like, you know, like the chocolate, then you would think like, oh, I would eat this, but it's a soap. So you're not
Right.
eating it.
Right.
Or the dog food. Sometimes the dog food looks so yummy, but you know it's a dog food, so you don't eat it. So there are certain things, right? So
Yes.
for me, after this experience, which I can't explain, I just probably raised my vibration so high that I went through this transformation that I couldn't eat anything which was made of white flour, which was made of processed sugar and milk products. And later on the day, my husband brought home a bottle of wine and he put it on the counter. And then I walked in and then I was like, shit, this is on the list. I just knew it. I just knew it. I never can drink alcohol again because
Right.
it was a download. I felt
Yes.
it like something is reprogrammed my complete feelings about certain food, you know?
Yeah.
And as soon as I started to eat like this, because I had no other choice, you know, I never again had to finish up the pasta of the kids. You know, I
Right.
never ate a piece of chocolate of them like what I used to do, you know, or I eat a donut. Or it's never happened
Right.
again. So basically, I started to lose like 4, 6 pounds every month. It was melting off
Right.
because of the changing of the diet, and then in 10 months, the 40 pounds was gone, you know? And then basically I had to change my clothes from size L to size S. I become
Right.
size S. It was insane. Like people even like, I even went back to Hungary meanwhile. So we returned to Hungary and then I went back to work to the same office, but as a freelancer, like a contractor. So I did sit there every day. I was like working from home. I had more time with the children. I had a very nice lifestyle at that time, and then I was losing weight. So eventually, I felt so happy, about this whole transformation. And I truly believe that when you manifest something, if you actually take time off from life, like you go to a sabbatical, whatever you wish before that is also coming to you. And then also, if you completely let it go and you don't believe in it, like it's ever gonna possible for you, like then it's also like bang, it's just there. And then it's just insane and it's just so amazing. So it happened to me so many times that I had like weird wishes, like which is like not acceptable by society, for example. And or maybe you would have like, for example, about the laptop lifestyle. I wanted to have laptop lifestyle, and then
Yes.
I need to be a digital marketer, or I need to be an e-commerce person. I need to be I had like this kind of how can I say it, beliefs,
Ideas.
because I was
Yes.
out there that that's what you need to do. But then one friend told me like, oh, you can just do the job what you do because you are a contractor. You just tell to your boss that you're gonna continue having only Zoom calls, not going into the office anymore. And then I was like, yeah, I can do that. So I packed up myself with the kids and then with my laptop, and then I moved to UK. And then I had still my Hungarian job, the contractor work. And then I just said, I'm not coming to the office anymore. I'm just gonna send the work. So
Right.
basically, created laptop lifestyle
Hmm.
within my industry, which was insane. It never happens in my
Right.
career. I never seen
Right.
anyone doing that.
Right.
So I'm not just
And I'm
into people.
presuming that was before the pandemic too.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what like people should like not get caught up on like, oh, I need to fulfill certain conditions to do something, You
Hmm.
can just wish for it and just do it, It's so
Yes.
insane.
Yes. And I always kind of jokingly say the universe always has a sense of humor too, right? So
Mhm.
when we manifest things, the way that it's delivered to us isn't necessarily how we think it is going to happen.
Absolutely. You have no idea. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's why you have to be open to it coming in a different way and getting the same result or better.
Exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I know through, that's first of all, congratulations on losing that weight. And that's a really nice, safe way to lose weight, 4 to 6 pounds a month. And to be able to do that over the 10 months. And the foods that you intuitively had to remove. And it sounds to me like there was even some neurological rewiring that happened for you because you
I'm
went from
sure.
liking it to not liking it and not wanting it and no desire, right? So I use a tool that I can actually help my clients go through that process. And we map across a food that they love and they eat too much of and they know isn't healthy for them onto a food they absolutely hate and won't put in their mouth. And then that's how they end up not wanting the original food in any way, shape, or form and losing their desire for it. And it sounds like this happened to you through that process of your Reiki work and then feeling slightly
Yeah.
grounded and then grounding, that this was a process that you went through. And the foods that you remove, the main ones, the sugar, obviously processed sugar is no good for us. Everybody knows that, and everybody knows it's in everything. So it is quite, you really have to read your labels these days.
Yes.
And dairy, well, dairy is highly inflammatory. And many people's digestive systems, especially Caucasians, especially non-Caucasians, really struggle with processing dairy. And
Mhm.
we're the only mammal that, drinks another mammal's milk, right? And
Exactly.
then gluten as well. And your bread in Europe is better than the bread in North America. However, there's, many people that struggle with gluten. And so removing white flour is part of removing that. And again, highly inflammatory and tough on the digestive system, which
Actually, at that time, I was just going from white flour to the whole meal
whole
flour, or
wheat,
how you call it.
right?
Yeah.
Whole wheat, yeah.
Well, yeah. And then what happened, like years later, uh, like 2 years later, in 2018, at the Lionsgate
Yes.
Portugal, I woke up in the morning and I said, I feel like I'm not going to eat gluten anymore. And that's when I cut it the gluten.
Right.
And no, I
Okay.
didn't eat gluten. But there was a time when I eat the other one, the other kinds
Right.
of bread. Yeah.
And you shifted from white to the whole wheat and then you
Yeah,
cut it
exactly.
entirely.
Mhm.
Yeah. because these foods are foods that trigger inflammation in the body, which triggers stress in the body. And when the body is in that stress state, it can't heal. And
Mm,
we have enough stresses everywhere else in our life, just being a mom and having a career and raising our children, that, your body was likely in that place of chronic stress until you left and moved to New Zealand and you had
mm,
this beautiful ocean view and you were running along the ocean and it just shifted that. Whether you consciously knew it or not, you just naturally shifted into that. And so all of that is beautiful because it created this opportunity for you to be losing the weight through the help of the universe, rewiring some neurology for you and making sure that you just didn't want those foods anymore.
yeah.
So I'm not sure if it was since then or not. However, you had been vegan
Yeah, it's
at a
also
time in
happened
your
the
life.
same day. It's also happened the same day as the gluten thing. So when I woke
Yes.
up in Lion Portal, and then I was like, I feel like I want to be gluten and gluten free and vegan.
Hmm.
And then I was like, okay, but how to start, in that
Right.
morning. And then actually in the first couple of weeks, I lost some weight because I had to find food, like what can I
Right.
eat? And then I
But
had to
it's an
figure out,
adjustment. It's an
yeah.
adjustment and learning and finding new recipes that you like.
Yeah. And then it was pretty good for a while, even though the funny thing was that I was still triggered like positively when I smelled like chicken, or like, like barbecue chicken and stuff. I still was like, it smells so good. But I knew it like, I'm not gonna eat those kind of things anymore. And
Hmm.
then I kind of tune into those energies I worked with, because that was in 2018 when I did the karma yoga healing and I did a lot of work with ancestral healing and karma healing. So it was really deep work and the third eye opening. So that's initiated the veganism, I believe. And then
Right.
to be able to raise higher and higher as I was growing in my spiritual journey. And what happened later, like after 2, 3 years, I felt very weak and started to have all kinds of infections and very
Right.
sick. And then
Right.
it turned out that is because of my iron deficiency, And then
Ooh,
I was
yeah.
thinking, like, oh, maybe I just should eat more beans, but I wasn't searching enough information to figure out, like, okay, I need chia seeds, I need cashew nuts, I need, eat C vitamin with the beans because otherwise the iron is not gonna be in the right place. So I should have done those researches, but I haven't done it. So
Right.
I got so sick that I needed help. Like, I went to the hospital, they measured again, they said it's iron. And then I still I did the source memory healing about it when I was like laying at home, really sick. And I was like, okay, I need to do a healing. And then I thought I am just having like, a flu. Maybe it's
Right.
possible that I'm having a flu, but because of that. And then what happened is it turned out, okay, it's might gonna sound really awkward for people who's not enough spiritual. But what happened is with the source memory healing, sometimes you go back to past lives, not
Mhm.
just childhood trauma.
Right.
Because we get into the karma vortex because we
Yes.
activate our eighth chakra. So I went back to a past life where I was in a cave and literally a big animal. I think it was not how you call it, dinosaur or something, but it's literally bit off my head, and my blood was just like this.
Oh,
It was
spurting
like
out.
a horror. It was like horror even just to see it in my, healing.
Yes.
And and as I finished this healing, immediately my phone, I got a message from my doctor saying, pick up your iron from the pharmacy. I didn't talk to the doctor for 2 months. I didn't even told him about my hospital blood, nothing,
Right.
the test. So might he got the report and like only 2 months later he read it, or he read it because of the healing. The karma
Right.
vortex was initiated. And then it was like even after his work, like 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. when he sent
Right.
the SMS. So it was so intense,
There
like,
are
okay,
no coincidences. Like
yeah,
it was
exactly.
because of that
Yeah. And
vortex.
then
Yeah.
I sent my son to the pharmacy to pick
Hmm.
up. But the other not coincidence, what happened is that he sent it to a wrong pharmacy. And
Ah,
what happened, I can't take proper iron tablets because it hurts my stomach. I can
yes.
only take liquid ones, like
Right.
okay, this is an advertisement, Floradix. So I love that product because actually When I was pregnant, I always took that
Right.
liquid iron. It was
Right.
really great. So
Hmm.
basically, my son said to me, like, okay, the medicine is not there. You can't take that iron. I was like, okay, stop, go back and get the liquid. So he got the liquid, and then I started to take the liquid. I didn't pick up never the other one.
Right.
And then I called the doctor and I said, I'm doing the liquid now. And then I'm also started to search all the food which has
Right.
iron, high iron. And literally, I both of them. And then every meal or every food I took into my mouth had to have high iron.
Right.
And I also started to eat meat. So I started to eat chicken again. I started to eat eggs and all of this. And then I was just like, my iron went really well up. So after like 2, 3 months, I had another test and it was perfectly fine. And I was back to power, and
Yes.
strong. And since then, it was in beginning of 2023. So it was like more than a year ago. And since
Right.
then, I am feeling great. So
That's
I'm not going to
awesome.
be eating meat. I wrote a book, and then this book called On the Healer's Journey. Let me grab it. It
Sure.
should be here. Yeah, so this is my book On the Healer's
On the
Journey. This,
healer's journey. Okay.
yeah,
Beautiful.
it's a coaching book for seekers. And in this book, I still write that I am vegan. And then I
Right.
still write that why I not recommend meat. It's a spiritual thing because they say that the meat has low vibration because of the suffering of the animals.
Right.
So basically, when you eat meat, is lowering your vibration, is causing more anxiety, stress, whatever it is, because you have a lower vibration. But then I realized that I did so much spiritual work and then I grow so much that now I became an alchemist. So it doesn't matter what I eat, I alchemize that frequency and then I can still keep a very high vibration. So I know many spiritual mentors who went through the same journey, that they were vegan for a while and then now they eat eggs and chicken again
Right.
for the same reason. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it does happen to a lot of people that are vegan, that they make that choice to be vegan for whatever reason it is. Sometimes it's to help the planet, sometimes it's for their own health, whatever that reason is. I'm a believer that everybody has to find the right way to eat
Yeah.
for your own body because we're all unique. Our microbiomes are as unique as our fingerprints. And that the way we eat changes throughout our life. So we don't have to stick to one way of eating our entire life. And
Yeah.
with being a vegan, you can become deficient in iron, in B12. So there's a few things that if you are vegan, you absolutely need to supplement with because
Yeah.
you're not getting it through your food. And I've had people come to me that are vegan and they're crying because their body's craving meat and they feel like if they eat the meat, they're a bad person. And I'm like, no, your body will never lead you astray. You've been
Yeah.
vegan for this amount of time and it served you for this part of your life. Now maybe you're moving into a new part of your life and your body is telling you what you need. And that's okay. Listen to your body.
Yeah, and they were also crying because the low iron is actually creating anxiety, stress, and
Mhm.
panic attacks.
Right.
I had clients who came to me with panic attacks. It turned out they were vegetarian. They had low iron as well. So you are more likely to experience these kind of mental issues when you have not enough
Oh, right.
iron. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So I love how you, again, intuitively came to your answers, because of all the work that you've done in order to be in that higher vibrational place, to have your third eye open, to have access through the pineal gland, to get those downloads and have those answers. And for people who don't have that and haven't done the work yet, you can help them get there.
Yeah, that's
And
one of my purpose actually, yes, to help them to
yeah,
open the third eye. Yes.
it's beautiful. And I just want to share a story that I had at one point. This is now, I don't know, probably about 16, 17 years ago, that I went to the naturopath and she suggested that I stop eating meat based on some of my symptomology, which was around hormones and imbalanced progesterone, estrogen, and I was getting migraines, and migraines are no fun, right? And initially I was like, I don't want to stop eating meat. I enjoy eating meat. However, then I also read a book called The Food Revolution, talking about the treatment of the animals in the mass-produced food meat industry and chopping down, chunks of the Amazon rainforest every single day to make meadows for cows to feed the hamburger fetish. So I decided, okay, I will give up meat. And I had a young family at the time. And so I started with the intention of not eating any meat and becoming vegetarian. And I realized very quickly that in my life with my career that that wasn't possible because I couldn't make a separate meal for me every single night in addition to what my family was eating, because my husband still enjoyed his meat and he wanted that. And I wanted, the kids could have their choice. And one of my daughters was already gluten-free, dairy-free, so I was already preparing different foods for her. So this was becoming too much time in the kitchen. So I decided, okay, I'll just give up red meat for now, because that was the one the naturopath really identified as being a problem for my health. The moment I decided that, I began to feel nauseous whenever I cooked it for my family. And I knew that that was my body's way of telling me, you don't want this, because it literally made me feel sick, even though I used to love it. And it made me feel sick for a year. So that it was doing that for me to make sure that I didn't want to eat it during this phase of changing the way I was eating, right? And then after a year, I could cook it and I didn't feel nauseous. And I also didn't want it because what I learned is after just a month of not eating it, my whole digestive system functioned much better. And it was a great step in the process of alleviating my migraines as well. So I knew that it was working. And so I share that story because, like your stories, sometimes without our knowing, there is definitely intervention by a higher power to guide us in the direction we need to go for our health.
Yes, yes.
And that nutrition is so key in our health.
Absolutely. That's my first question always when a client comes to me about mental health issues, or other issues, like what they eat. That's my first question.
Yes, because it does impact mental health and physical health. And the reason that we're seeing so many health issues related to nutrition these days is because of the processed food industry. If people are living a processed food diet, and unfortunately, I know the listeners of this show aren't, however, many people in the world still are, that gives us only 17 of the 90 nutrients we need in a day. And on top of that, we have nutrient depleted soil systems. And so it's not as easy as it once was for us to be able to get the nutrition that we used to be able to get. And so we have to be more focused on it. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. I even love taking some supplements, time to time. So I always, I don't do it like always, but I gives like a couple of months and then I break and then so on and so forth. So, and of course, when I also feel like it's winter time, it needs more support, I take more C vitamins. So yeah, I look out for that because we can't consume it from the current food anymore because the soil doesn't have enough nutrients for sure. Yeah.
And that's true all the way around the world, unfortunately, now. So, Edith, I've loved this conversation. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing your experience, your wisdom, and just giving the audience some inspiration and hope that they too can do exactly what you have done. And before we get into how people can connect with you, I love to ask people, what does "don't wait for your wake-up call" mean to you?
So basically, because the wake-up call is usually when you are already in trouble, right? So don't wait for your wake-up call means like being proactive, like searching for answers out there, like, and implementing good habits, into your life, and then just making sure you always feel good about yourself, you are healthy, and make that choice, and take action on it. Being proactive, basically, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. I fully agree. So if somebody would like to connect with you, work with you, please let the audience know how they can get in touch with you. And you've also generously offered a free gift. So please share about that as well.
Yeah. So my website is edithbkiss.com. So my name and .com, and all my socials are on my website. So people can also reach my YouTube channel where I upload daily, and I also have a playlist, a meditation playlist where they can try already those meditations which I was talking about for pineal gland activation and third eye opening. So also for manifestation, there is also a pranayama practice. So they are pretty cool meditations there. And yeah, I also active on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, my 5 days masterclass or 5 series masterclass. Basically, I explain there about our multidimensional existence, also about the healing process and why our unconscious, why is everything like is buried in the unconscious mind, the traumas, and then how the triggers are coming and how you can stop your triggers, basically how can you get more peaceful and in harmony. So I explain more about like why we are in a certain way, like why we feel certain pain or diseases or illnesses and how we can stop those. And I also have some practical tools in those in that series about like habits and like a daily routine or what to implement, how to feel more healthy. And I also explain about even spiritual connection, like how to call upon angels or spirit guides, how to ask for their help or support in your life. So it includes many things in that 5 series. That's why it's really interesting because it's touch upon more things, basically.
Beautiful. I love the sound of all of that. So that is a very generous offer. Thank you so much. And I encourage the audience to definitely dive into that because there will be lots of learning for you. And is there anything else as we end this show, Edith, that you would like to share with the audience?
If you are a person who's on your awakening journey, and then that, what does it mean? That means like you feel a bit lost, you feel like you are different, especially from your family members or from your friends, because you start to look at things differently, and then you feel like the black sheep, then it's just like, just take the responsibility for your healing, because as you start healing yourself, you're going to heal your whole soul family, and your family members start to change as well. So it's not going to be too long until they recognize these kind of positive things what you start implementing in your life. Just don't give up. That's what I wanted to say, that don't give up if people around you trying to doubt you or trying to talk you off, or hold you back. They say they cut your wings because they say then you can fall off when you fly. So they do this kind of things, the family members. So I want you to stay strong, and I want you to continue on your awakening journey, be positive and do your healings, and then eventually that's going to heal others as well. And as you raise your vibration, you're raising the mass vibration of the earth. So everyone who's starting to do raising vibration by just being joyful, doing gratitude practices or affirmations, just being in a higher vibration by, doing activities what you love and having positive thinking, then basically that already helps everyone on the earth.
Absolutely. So true. It's that ripple effect that we can create.
Yes.
And the more light we shine, the more light continues to shine and the darkness gets blocked out. So I love that. Thank you so much, Edith, for coming on the show. This has been a fabulous conversation. And to my audience, thank you for tuning in each and every week as we continue talking about nutrition this month. And next week, I have a very special guest for you coming onto the show. I'm going to keep his name a surprise, but it is a name that you know. So make sure you do not miss next week's episode. And thank you for being here. I'd like to introduce you to Girls Matter today. It is a nonprofit that I started back in 2017 to help ensure girls in developing countries get an education. You see, education is not free all the way around the world, and it very often comes down to families having to choose between paying for their daughter's education or feeding them. And sometimes they can't even afford to feed them. They will marry them off as teenagers and they become someone else's problem. At Girls Matter, we fundraise to keep girls in school, pay for their high school education, ensure they have the menstrual supplies they need so they don't miss a week of school every single month. Because we know that in keeping girls in school, we are breaking the poverty cycle, one girl, one family, one village at a time. When we educate the girls, we actually can grow the GDP of the country. When we educate the girls, we're also having a powerful ripple effect because an educated girl is more than twice as likely to educate her own children. So if this is something that resonates with you and you would like to give back as you listen to my podcast and learn for yourself, and you would like to help other girls learn and improve their education, please go to girlsmatter.ca and donate. You can do one-time donations, subscription donations, whatever feels right for you. As you enjoy the content I provide to you, please choose to give back and support girls in improving their life elsewhere around the world. And for that, I thank you.